We conclude our month on looking back to look forward with Tom Bennett, CEO of Pond5. In part 2 of our interview, Tom talks about Pond5's 3D assets and his take on the growing 3D marketplace. One of the big post stories of this year was Element 3D by Video Copilot that really let you finally do 3D in After Effects. You can actually manipulate .obj files. How's it been received by your community on Pond5?
We're getting a lot of good feedback from it. I mean, there was obviously huge demand for being able to work with 3D in After Effects. I'm embarrassed to say that I haven't actually used Element 3D. But from the buzz that I'm hearing, I think that people are super excited about it. And it's really, it seems to me that this is kind of the beginning of something really exciting, which is After Effects folks being able to work with 3D. And there's just a huge amount of potential there. And there's a lot of overlap between our artists work in all sorts of different media, but especially amongst the 3D crowd, this kind of video to 3D bridge is really important. And so I think it's a great kind of step forward. And Video Copilot is awesome, and super impressed to see that being rolled out at NAB.
So Pirate Bay declared 3D printed physibles as the next frontier of piracy. In fact, they already have a category on their site where you can buy, a limited number of 3D items. And I'm sure you've seen the whole kind of trend with 3D printers taking off and becoming more commonplace. Do you think there's going to be like DRM protected 3D objects in the future? And if so, what could it mean for sites like yours and 3D artists in general?
Right. With the other media types, we've avoided DRM just because there's really no effective way of preventing people from transferring content once they have the full quality, full resolution media. So it's a legal rather than a technical solution there. Mm-hmm. With 3D, it is a very tricky question, and I think it raises a lot of really interesting kind of philosophical issues. With our license agreement, one issue that's come up is it's a little bit different, for instance, having a photo that you post on a blog. So you're making the original photo available in that case. When you distribute a render of a 3D object, you're obviously not distributing the object itself. So there's a distinction between the media itself and the sort of rendered form. So that makes it pretty unique with respect to other media types, including video, including audio, and so on. And it means that there is the potential, at least for some degree of DRM, I think. So at a minimum, you can set things up so that people can preview and, in a lot of cases, actually manipulate a 3D model without being able to render it out. And obviously that's going to be software specific. So we're kind of, our ears are open on that front. We're not doing anything specific with that right now. And in fact, we just recently launched our 3D model section, and we're learning a lot every day about how 3D works, which is there's obviously a lot of kind of specifics to 3D that you don't find with the other media. So I think when it comes to the idea of physibles, if that's the term, that's just fascinating, and that may well be the next frontier of piracy. We haven't had any big issues with that so far, and we do as much as we can to protect against it. But again, it's really hard to put a technical solution in place that prevents somebody from transferring any sort of content. And mostly, DRM solutions tend to make for a worse experience for legitimate customers, and they don't impede actual piracy.
Is there anything you want to add? Do you see any hot trend for next year that you're keeping an eye on, especially as we move closer to NAB?
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening. So we just released a plug for Adobe Premiere, CS6, which is really awesome. It allows you to access the entire Pond5 library directly from within the app, and you can purchase, download, and conform your media without actually having to open the web browser, which is pretty cool. So if your listeners want to check that out, that's you just go to pond5.com/Adobe. You can check out the plugin there. That's a little bit self-serving. As far as the rest of it, I think that 4K video is finally coming into its own. The GoPro, I think, is a big deal. I think $300 or $400 camera that does 4K video is mind-blowing. It's just exciting, and so we're super excited about that. And I think the lagging element there is distribution and display at any resolution above 1080. And I think what's interesting there is the latest iPad, or I guess the previous iPad, pre the Mini, was, as far as I know, the first widely distributed device that went beyond HD. And that's just kind of beginning to sort of open the door to super high resolution content. And that for us is really, really exciting. I think that, there's some people who say, well, once you hit 1080, that's enough, or once you hit 4K, that's enough. At a certain point, resolution doesn't matter. My sense is that the richness and quality of the media, whether that's resolution or other factors, can always improve. I don't think it's going to slow down or plateau anytime soon. And that drives our business, so we're definitely bullish about that. Beyond that, I think the latest Final Cut update was nice to see. It's beginning to be taken seriously by serious editors these days, which is interesting. So excited about that as well. And then obviously all the camera technology, all of the 3D stuff is just amazing. Maxon is doing amazing stuff with Cinema 4D. Autodesk is always doing stuff. So definitely excited to see what they have to show at NAB.
Check out their newly revamped site at pond5.com. The user experience just took a huge leap forward. Also, check out our daily tips from miniature and practical effects guru Fawn Davis of Fonco Creative if you haven't been following along already. He's worked on some of the biggest films of our generation, like the Star Wars series and the Matrix trilogy. If you go to splicevine.com and click on the Workflow Whisperer tab, you'll see his daily progression of fundamentals on the design and fabrication of miniatures and practical effects. See you next week.